Jai Shri Ram. Now we start Canto 51. Before I start reading the canto, I am going to read out the summary of the canto. Expressing his readiness to guard the crown prince and his consort, keeping awake the whole night, Guha importunes Lakshman to repose, reminding Guha of Sri Ram's greatness. Lakshman, however, tells him that even though the duty of guarding his princely brother and his consort could as well be entrusted to Guha, he felt that he did not deserve to lie down in the presence of his elder brother and sister-in-law and preferred to remain awake, expressing grief for his royal father and loving mothers. He therefore spends the night talking with Guha. Distressed with agony to see the princely couple lying on the ground, Guha spoke as follows to the celebrated Lakshman, who was keeping awake through sincere love for the protection of his elder brother Sri Ram. Here is a cozy bed nicely prepared for you, dear brother. Pray, repose comfortably on it, O prince. We are all inured to hardships while you are deserving of comforts. We shall keep vigil for the night for the protection of Sri Ram, scion of Kakushta. For none on earth is more beloved of me than Sri Ram. I tell you the bare truth and swear to you by truth. By his grace alone, I hope to earn very great renown in this world, as also to acquire religious merit as well as abundant riches and sense enjoyment. As such, I shall, with my kindred guard in every way, both in hand, my beloved friend Sri Ram reposing with Sita. Nothing in this woodland is unknown to me, wandering as I do all the time in it. We can also undoubtedly get the better of a surpassingly huge and exceptionally mighty army consisting of the four limbs, viz., elephants, chariots, horsemen, and foot soldiers. Thereupon Lakshman, for his part, replied as follows: being protected by you who keep your duty alone in view, O sinless Guha, we all are not the least afraid of any in this land. But so long as Sri Ram, son of Dashrath, remains lying down on the ground with Sita, how can sleep be had by me? Much less nourishment intended to keep the body and soul together or amenities of life. Behold him who cannot be withstood in battle by all the gods and demons put together, fast asleep with comfort on a bed of straw with Sita. When Sri Ram, who was secured as a foremost eldest brother in age and virtues, son, endowed with characteristics similar to his own by Dashrath by virtue of his chanting of sacred text and austerities, as well as through various undertakings in the form of sacrificial performances, etc., has gone into exile, the king will not live long, and the earth will surely be widowed forthwith by the demise of Dashrath. Having uttered forth a shrill cry, the women in the city must have ceased weeping through exhaustion by this time. I believe the royal palace too has by now become silent after a loud wail. I do not expect that the great Queen Kaushalya, Sri Ram's mother, and the king, and even so my mother Sumitra, all these will outlive this night. My mother might even survive due to her expecting to meet Shatrughan, but it will be painful if Kaushalya, who has given birth to a heroic son, dies. That city of Ayodhya, which has till now been crowded with men and women full of love for Sri Ram, nay, which has been a source of joy to all and brought pleasure to the world, will perish when seized with agony over the king's death. How will the life breath of the high-souled king retain its hold on his body when he is no longer able to behold the high-souled Sri Ram, his eldest son? When the king is dead, Kaushalya will die in his wake, and my mother Sumitra too will meet her end immediately after. Not attaining his desired end, and without installing Sri Ram on the throne of Ayodhya, my father will breathe his last with the words lost, lost on his lips. Fortunate men along will consecrate our deceased father Dashrath, a scion of Raghu, in the course of all funeral rites when that unlucky moment has actually arrived. If, on the other hand, Dashrath survives, people will move about happily in the capital of my father, provided with crossroads allocated at lovely sites and well aligned roads, nay, rich in mansions of well to do men, temples of gods, and royal palaces adorned with the foremost of courtesans, crowded with chariots, horses, and elephants, made resonant with the sound of musical instruments, full of all blessings, and crowded with merry and well fed men, well provided with gardens and royal parks, and bright with festivities carried on under the auspices of associations. In case Dashrath, our father, survives, we might, on returning from our exile in the forest, see that high-souled king of noble vows once more. Let us hope when this period of exile in the forest has expired, we may safely return to Ayodhya along with Sri Ram, who is true to his promise. While the high-souled prince Lakshman sat lamenting as above, afflicted with agony as he was, that night slipped away. While Lakshman, son of Dashrath, a friend of the people, was speaking in the truth as above, out of affection for his elder brother, Sri Ram, Guha, who was sore pinched with adversity and oppressed with agony, shed tears like an elephant tormented with fever. Thus ends Canto 51 in the AYODHYAKAND of the glorious Ramayana of Valmiki, the work of a rishi and the oldest epic. Now, I'll read Canto 52. The summary first. While about to step into the boat bought by Guha's men and asked by Guha if he could be of any further use to the prince, Sri Ram enjoins him to obey the emperor. Importuned by Sumantra to take him as a personal attendant to the forest, the prince declines his loving offer and expostulating him sends him back to Ayodhya. Entangling their locks into a thick mass with the milk of a banyan tree procured by Guha, Sri Ram and Lakshman with Sita get into the boat. On reaching the middle of the stream, Sita offers prayers to Mother Ganga, the deity presiding over the stream, and after crossing the river, all the three halt for the night at the foot of a tree. The night having ended in dawn, the highly illustrious Sri Ram, who was distinguished by a broad chest, spoke as follows to Lakshman, who was endowed with auspicious bodily marks. The hour of sunrise is at hand and the glorious night has passed. Over there, the very dark bird, the cuckoo, is uttering its notes. Oh dear brother! The shrill note of peacocks crying in the woodland is also heard. Let us, therefore, O good brother, cross the swift flowing Ganga which runs towards the sea. Grasping the intention of Sri Ram's words and informing Guha as well as the charioteer, accordingly, the said Lakshman, the delight of his friends, stood facing his elder brother Sri Ram. Hearing the command of Sri Ram and bowing to it, nay, speedily summoning his ministers, Guha, the ruler of the Nishads, for his part, spoke to one of them as follows. Quickly bring to the landing place a beautiful and stout boat, duly equipped with oars and helmsmen, by which Sri Ram and his party could easily ferry across. Hearing the aforesaid command of Guha, the great minister of Guha departed and bringing a charming boat to the nearest landing place, reported the compliance to Guha. Folding his hand, the said Guha then said to Sri Ram, "Here is the boat ready, my lord. What more shall I do for you? Here is a boat brought for you, O tiger among men, to cross the Ganga flowing towards the sea. O prince, effulgent as a son of divinity, pray get into it promptly, O observer of noble vows." The exceptionally glorious Sri Ram thereupon spoke to Guha as follows: "My desire has been accomplished by you. Please have everything placed in the boat quickly." Having equipped themselves with an armor each and fastened their quivers and swords to their person, the two archers, Sri Ram and Lakshman, scions of Raghu, with Sita, then sought the said Ganga through the same landing place as was restored by others. Humbly approaching Sri Ram, who knew what is right and stood ready to leave, the charioteer humbly spoke with folded hands as follows: "What shall I do?" Touching Sumantra with his auspicious right hand, Sri Ram, son of Dashrath, thereupon replied to him, "Return speedily to the king's presence, O Sumantra, and do not lose your presence of mind." "Please return," said he to Sumantra, and added, "This much is enough service to me. Leaving the chariot, we shall henceforth proceed to the forest of Dandak on foot." Distressed to find himself dismissed the said charioteer, Sumantra, for his part, submitted as follows to Sri Ram: "A sign of Ikshvaku, a tiger among men. That destiny by which has been brought about your exile in the forest with your consort and your younger brother, like that of a common man, has never been set aside by any man in the world. I believe there is no gain in leading the austere life of a religious student in the house of one's teacher, in studying the Vedas as an integral part of such a life, or even in cultivating tenderness and guilelessness when adversity has come even to you in the shape of exile. Living as an exile in the forest with Sita, a princess of the Videha kingdom, and younger brother, O sign of Raghu, you will surely attain the same exalted position as one who has conquered all the worlds. We are actually ruined, O Ram, in that, forsaken by you, we shall surely fall under the sway of the sinful Kaikeyi and reap suffering." Speaking thus in a strain worthy of himself, Sumantra, the charioteer, then wept long, stricken with sorrow as he was to see with his mental eyes Sri Ram gone to some distance. When his tears got dried up and the charioteer had sipped some water and got purified, the tears having brought defilement in him, Sri Ram, for his part, repeatedly spoke to him in a sweet tone as follows: "I do not perceive anyone who is as great a friend of the Ikshvakus as you are. Pray act in such wise that King Dashrath may not grieve for me." The emperor is not only confused in mind through grief, he is aged too and has his host of desires to see me installed as Prince Regent and so on thwarted. Hence, I tell you this: whatever and howsoever that high-souled emperor may enjoin you to do with intent to oblige Mother Kaikeyi should be unhesitatingly done by you. Kings rule their states only with the end in view, that their will may not be crossed in any undertaking. Handle everything in such a way, O Sumantra, that the said emperor neither gets displeased nor does he feel distressed through grief. Only after greeting the old and venerable king, who has never known suffering and has subdued his senses, make you this submission to him on my behalf. Neither do I grieve, nor does Lakshman nor Sita feel sorry that we have been uprooted from Ayodhya, or that we are going to dwell in the forest. When 14 years have elapsed, you will once more see Lakshman and myself, and Sita too returned apace from forest. Having repeated as aforesaid to the king and my mother Kaushalya, O Sumantra, as well as to the other queens along with Sumitra, as also Kaikai, tell Kaushalya that I am keeping good health. Then convey salutations at her feet on behalf of Sita as well as myself, the elder brother, and of Lakshman. Also submit to the emperor, my father, pray get Bharat soon, and when returned from his maternal uncle's, Bharat should be installed in the office intended for him by your majesty. When you have met and embraced Bharat and installed him in the office of Prince Regent, the agony caused by remorse felt by you on our account will no longer be able to overpower you. Bharat too should be exhorted in the following words. You should behave towards all your mothers without distinction in the same way as you do towards the king, your father. Even as Kaikai and Sumitra too are equally worthy of respect to you, more so is my mother, Queen Kaushalya, who is senior to all. If you accept the office of Prince Regent with intent to pleasure our father, it will be possible for you to thrive happily in both the worlds, this world and the next. Hearing the whole of the aforesaid discourse, when instructed by Sri Ram with a view to his being sent back to Ayodhya, Sumantra lovingly replied to him as follows. If I speak to you in an unfaltering tone due to affection and do not speak with reverence, which is due to you as my master, you ought in fact to forgive my mode of speech, considering me as full of devotion to you. Bereft of you, how shall I actually return to that city of Ayodhya, which through separation from you has been reduced to the state of a mother stricken with grief due to separation from her son? O dear child, the people of Ayodhya were really torn with grief even to see this chariot with Sri Ram at the time of your departure from Ayodhya. On seeing it without Sri Ram this time, that city itself may be riven in two. The city will be reduced to a sad plight on seeing this chariot without you, even as the army of a hero on seeing his chariot with the charioteer alone surviving, the warrior having been killed in battle. Thinking of you, who though dwelling afar are ever mentally present before them, the people of Ayodhya must have gone without their food and drink today. The great confusion that ensued on the occasion of your exile among the people of Ayodhya, whose mind was depressed through grief on your account, was witnessed by you with your own eyes, O Ram. Nay, perceiving me alone with the chariot, the people of Ayodhya will raise a cry of distress 100 times louder than that which was actually raised by them at the time of your banishment. Again, shall I falsely submit to the queen Kaushalya as follows. Your son Ram has been conveyed to his maternal uncle's. Pray do not give way to agony. I dare not make such false report, even though it is pleasing to the ear, and save her from agony for some time. On the other hand, how can I make a correct yet unpalatable report that Ram has proceeded to the forest? Even if you insist on my returning to Ayodhya at all events, how will the excellent horses drawing the chariot, which are subject to my control and transport only your kindred and yourself, draw the chariot without you? Therefore, O sinless prince, I shall not be able to return to Ayodhya even if I try to do so without you. You ought under such circumstances to allow me to follow you to share your exile in the forest. If you still insist on leaving me, even though I solicit you to take me with you, I shall enter a fire, chariot and all, on this spot the moment I am forsaken by you. With the help of the chariot, O scion of Raghu, I shall repel all those creatures that cause interruption in your austerities in the forest. Be your kind offices the pleasure by your kind offices the pleasure of driving your chariot was secured by me. By your grace alone, I hope this time to enjoy the pleasure of dwelling with you in the forest. Be gracious to me by allowing me to follow you to the forest. I long to be your close associate in the forest. I wish to hear your loving assent in the words, be my close associate. These horses too, O heroic prince, if they get an opportunity to serve you while you dwell in the forest, will attain the highest destiny by serving their beloved master. Dwelling in the forest with you, I shall render service to you with my head bent low, and in order to be allowed this privilege, I quit for good in every way Ayodhya and even heaven, the realm of God. Bereft of you, Ayodhya is incapable of being entered by me, much in the same way as Amravati, the capital of mighty Indra, is inaccessible to a man of sinful deeds. Indeed, this is my ambition that when your exile in the forest has come to an end, I may convey you back to Ayodhya in this very chariot. So long as I remain with you in the forest, 14 years will undoubtedly slip away past me as though reduced to as many moments, whereas if I stay away from you, they will multiply 100-fold. O Prince, who are so fond of your dependents, you ought not to desert me, your devoted servant, standing resolved to tread on the path chosen by the son of his master and ever keeping within bounds. Sri Ram, for his part, compassionate as he was towards his dependents, replied as follows to Sumantra, who was piteously supplicating again and again in many ways as aforesaid. I know your supreme devotion to me, O charioteer, so fond of your master. Nevertheless, pray, hear wherefore I send you back to Ayodhya from here. Seeing you returned to the capital, my youngest mother, Kaikai, should feel convinced that I, Ram, have left for the forest. Otherwise, in the event of your remaining with me, let not Kaikai, who is not going to derive satisfaction otherwise, even on my having gone into exile in the forest, suspect the pious king to be a liar. This is my foremost intention in sending you back to Ayodhya, that my youngest mother Kaikai should secure the kingdom of Ayodhya, protected by Bharat, and thus ruled by her own son in good condition, and this will be possible only on your returning to Ayodhya. For till then, the possibility of my returning to Ayodhya will not be completely ruled out, and till then Bharat too will not be called back to Ayodhya, and everyone will remain in a state of suspense. For my pleasure and for the pleasure of the emperor, therefore, O Sumantra, return you to the capital and deliver all the messages that you have been asked to deliver, each in the way you have been asked to do. Having offered explanation to the charioteer as aforesaid and consoling him again and again, Sri Ram, who was not feeling the least timorous, gave the following reasoned instructions to Guha. It is not proper for me on this occasion to dwell as I am doing in a forest in which my own men are present. Therefore, an abode must be taken up by me in a hermitage in an uninhabited region, and the procedure to be followed in this behalf must be observed by me. Adopting with the concurrence of Sita and Lakshman a discipline in the shape of eating fruits, roots and bulbs, etc., and reposing on the ground and so on, which serves as an embellishment for ascetics, seeking as I do the spiritual welfare of my father and wearing matted hair, I should like to proceed further. Therefore, please bring the milk-like exudation of a banyan tree, Guha, fetched such exudation at once for the prince. With that exudation, Sri Ram, a tiger among men, who was possessed of long arms, formed his own locks as well as those of Lakshman into a mass of clotted hair, and thus wore the distinguishing mark of an ascetic in the shape of matted hair. Clad in the bark of trees and wearing a rounded mass of matted locks on their head, those two brothers, Sri Ram and Lakshman, looked charming at that time like two rishis, ascetic sages. Having temporarily adopted the ways of a hermit, along with Lakshman, and accepted the vow of an ascetic life, Sri Ram then spoke as follows to his helpmate Guha. Remain vigilant in the matter of your army, exchequer, fortress, and the people, O Guha, for a state is recognized as most difficult to protect. Having duly taken leave of the celebrated Guha and remaining undisturbed all the time, Sri Ram, the delight of the Ikshavakus, then quickly departed along with his consort Sita and with Lakshman. Beholding a boat on the bank of the river and keen to cross the swift flowing Ganga, Sri Ram, the delight of the Ikshavakus, for his part, spoke to Lakshman as follows. Holding the boat standing there and thereby steadying it, help the timid Sita to get into it slowly and step you into it forthwith, O lion among men. Hearing the command of his elder brother and helping Sita, a princess of Mithila, to get into the boat first, the self-possessed Lakshman stepped into the boat afterwards, thus acting in full conformity with his brother's command. The gracious Ram, elder brother of Lakshman, himself got into the boat last, and after that Guha, the ruler of Nishads, commanded his kinsmen to row the boat across the stream. Having got into the aforesaid boat, Sri Ram, a sign of Raghu for his part, who was possessed of unique splendor, then recited a sacred text fit for the Brahmans and Kshatriyas alike and conducive to his own good. Nay, sipping the water of the Ganga according to the scriptural ordinance and feeling highly gratified, Sri Ram with Sita bowed low to that river, and Lakshman, the great car warrior, followed suit. Further, bidding farewell to Sumantra as well as to the celebrated Guha and his army, and occupying his seat in the boat, Sri Ram, for his part, urged the boatmen to row the boat. Rowed by boatmen and directed by the helmsman, the boat, propelled by swift movement of the beautiful oars, moved swiftly across the water. Having duly reached the middle of the Ganga, Sita, a princess of the Videha kingdom, for her part, who was irreproachable in every way, spoke as follows with joined palms to the said river. Protected on all sides by you, O Mother Ganga, may this son of the wise Emperor Dashrath execute this decree of the Emperor to remain in exile for 14 years. When having sojourned in the forest for full 14 years, he arrives at your bank once more with his younger brother Lakshman, and myself then returned in safety, O blessed Mother, with all my desires fulfilled, O Ganga, I shall worship you with great delight. Since you, O Goddess, flowing through heaven, earth, and the subterranean regions, include in your basin the realm of Brahma, the outermost of the 6 spheres enveloping the earth, and are vividly seen on this terrestrial plane as a consort of the ocean king, the deity presiding over the oceans, I, Sita, greet and extol you, O charming goddess. When Sri Ram, a tiger among men, has safely returned and regained his throne, I shall give away 1,00,000 cows as well as articles of wearing apparel and foodstuffs of excellent quality to the Brahmans with intent to please you. Having returned to Ayodhya, I shall worship you with 1,001 articles not available even to gods, as well as with lands free from revenue, raiment, and cooked rice. Be pleased with me, O goddess. Nay, I shall without doubt offer worship to all the deities that have their abode on your banks, as well as to all secret spots and sites on your banks. May the sinless Ram, who is possessed of mighty arms for his part, re-enter Ayodhya, from the forest along with Lakshman and myself, O sinless goddess. Praying to Ganga, as aforesaid, the celebrated Sita, who was irreproachable everywhere and devoted to her husband, speedily reached the southern bank. Having safely reached the aforesaid bank and leaving the boat, Sri Ram, a jewel among men, the chastiser of his foes, for his part, proceeded further with his younger brother Lakshman and Sita, a princess of the Videha kingdom. The mighty armed prince now said to Lakshman, who heightened the joy of Sumitra, "Be prepared for the protection of Sita in the inhabited as well as in the uninhabited areas. Protection must be afforded in an uninhabited forest to the weaker sex by men like me who maintain the moral order. Therefore, lead the way, O son of Sumitra, and let Sita follow you. I, for my part, shall follow in the rear, protecting Sita as well as yourself from behind, for protection must be vouchsafed by us to one another, O jewel among men. In fact, no severe trial has gone out of possibility as yet. On the other hand, Sita, a princess of the Videha kingdom, will experience only today the suffering entailed by a sojourn in the forest. She will enter today a forest in which traces of blade of grasses, etc., have been crushed under the feet of men, are no longer visible. There being no traffic of men, which is utterly devoid of fields and garden, hence has a rugged surface and is full of yawning chasms, etc. Hearing the advice of Sri Ram, Lakshman led the way, Sita following him, and immediately after Sita followed Sri Ram, a sign of Raghu, the delight of the Raghus. Constantly gazing on Sri Ram, who had soon reached the other bank of the Ganga, and his vision having failed due to the long distance covered by the exiles. In the meantime, Sumantra, who was full of remorse and afflicted too, shed tears of grief over his separation from Sri Ram. Having crossed the great river Ganga, the high-souled Sri Ram, who vied in glory with the guardians of the spheres and was capable of bestowing boons, thence reached step by step the prosperous and happy land of Vatsa, and the land comprised between the Ganga and the Yamuna rivers, which contained rows of beautiful crops. Having hunted for love of sport 4 large deer, viz. A Varaha, Risha, Prasatha, and Maharuru, the 4 principal species of deer, and taking with them articles of food consisting of fruits, etc., fit for being consigned as an oblation into the sacred fire. Now that they felt hungry after sport, the 2 brothers quickly sought the foot of a tree where they had evidently stationed Sita within their sight. For the time, they were engaged in sport for taking rest after supper during the night. Thus ends Canto 52 in the AYODHYAKAND of the glorious Ramayana of Valmiki, the work of a Rishi and the oldest epic. Jai Shri Ram.